I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman.
And I'm Gabriel Chrisman.
And today we're going to be discussing Eugen Sandow's Strength and How to Obtain It from 1897. So, Eugen Sandow was a Victorian bodybuilder.
The first modern scientific bodybuilder.
Yeah, and actually, pictures of him were very popular in the 1890s. And you can see in this, he is literally wearing nothing but a fig leaf. And I'll get a little closer to the camera. And books by and about him tend to be very photo heavy, because he was that kind of guy.
Yes.
People just liked him for eye candy more than anything else, but he was very important in the bodybuilding world.
And just the development of different concepts of male beauty.
Right.
And different ideas about the acceptability of men as an attractive object.
Right. And actually he did run the first male beauty pageant, which actually predated any female beauty pageants. The first beauty pageant was for men, and it was run by Eugen Sandow. It later morphed into bodybuilding contests.
Right.
And actually the biggest bodybuilding contest in the world, the first prize is still a statue of Eugen Sandow.
Just like that.
Just like that, nearly naked.
Yes.
But it started out, kitties, started out as a male beauty pageant, and there was sort of a joke because the winner was going back to his hotel carrying this massive trophy that looked like solid gold. It was actually bronze, but it looked like gold. And to keep him from getting robbed, someone told the hotel that he'd gotten it for being the strongest man in England. But it was originally a beauty pageant. Anyhow, so this book is all of his instructions for how to build your body.
Yes.
And
so this far predates, all of the 20th century imitators like Charles Atlas.
Right.
And a bunch of the other sort of later bodybuilders who did the same thing. They were all basing this on what Sandow had done.
Right. And actually Arnold Schwarzenegger was very consciously emulating Eugen Sandow.
Yes.
And Sandow was Prussian, which is interesting because that country doesn't exist anymore. And the part of Prussia he was from it later became part of the Soviet Union, and now I think it's between Poland and Lithuania. So it was just across the Slavic border.
Yes.
And which is an interesting detail about him. He was always sort of fudging his nationality and fudging his background because he was from very humble origins and he wanted to seem bigger than he was.
Right. He did eventually try to go into politics, just like Arnold Schwarzenegger would later.
Yeah, except
it was poorly timed.
Well, being Prussian, he had a German-sounding accent, and that didn't go over too well in England around the time of the First World War.
Right.
It just didn't work. But anyhow, so his bodybuilding book, it's very much like a lot of bodybuilding books that were written in the 20th century because they were consciously basing their stuff off of his. Now, if you are into bodybuilding, this would be great because it's a lot of how-to stuff. If you're not into bodybuilding, it's mostly fun for its eye candy because it's full of photographs of Sandow himself and his star pupils. So there are just all of these wonderful photographs of very...
And because Sandow was consciously working, his ideal, what he was aiming for, was the ideal of Greek statues, of gods.
Right.
And basically he would try to actually make his body match the measurements of those Greek statues.
Right.
And so a lot of the poses that he has in his photographs are poses of classical standards.
Right, and these are also poses he would do on stage for people. He would go on stage and be a living statue, basically. That was what he was famous for. And sadly, it's the only thing he really was ever able to make money at.
Right.
He tried he tried branching out, he tried doing more mature things, but nobody wanted him to do more mature things. They just wanted to copy his body, which is kind of sad, actually.
But he was able to sell his workout program and routine.
Right.
He was then able later on to patent and sell some exercise devices.
Right.
And that, those are some other ways he was able to make money.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. And this is the sort of book that Ken and Felix from my series would have read and been familiar with, and they may have had some pictures of him up on their walls. And it's just a really interesting window into the time, because this is, again, it's not an aspect of Victorian culture people tend to be as familiar with.
Right.
But he was huge. He was a big celebrity at the time. And he was
numerous other celebrities followed his program and knew of him.
Right.
Arthur Conan Doyle,
right.
Tons of others who basically followed his workout routines.
Right. And clearly our cats are following his Greco-Roman wrestling routine.
Yes, right.
They're
but
wild today.
Sandow, we can thank for so many elements of what have become standards in physical fitness and in gym culture, because we can thank him for the fact that gyms have full-length mirrors, because he thought it was very important that people were able to see the action of the muscles as they worked them. And so many other things, tracking measurements, was really one of his developments.
There are actually pages in here that have blank lines on them where you're supposed to write in your own measurements after you've been working out for a while.
Exactly, yes.
Of course, conveniently, it's got yet another picture of him nearly naked.
Well, just a drawing in this case.
This case is a drawing, but even so. And he is always wearing a literal fig leaf.
Yes.
There's been some curiosity about how they managed to keep it on, because you can...
And what it was made of.
And what it was made of. It was either pasted to him somehow, or they had a string that the photographer later sort of penciled out, because you could do that when you had actual negatives.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyhow, yeah, it's always this fig leaf, which is kind of entertaining.
And don't forget the sandals. He's also always wearing classic Roman sandals.
Roman gladiator sandals. And he wrote some articles for the Cosmopolitan magazine, and even in those, it's all about the pictures. It's all about these pictures of him lifting Roman columns and, posing.
Yes.
He was that sort of guy. And so, again, it's just a really fun window into an aspect of the culture that was very discussed. He was very famous.
Yes.
And if you read Victorian literature from the 19th century, or even a little later, early 20th century stuff, they'll reference Sandow a lot. And if you haven't read his stuff and if you're not familiar with his work, you're not going to understand those references.
Yeah.
And so it's very important for that.
He was also marketed as the perfect man.
Yes.
In many cases.
Yes, because he was very proportional.
Yes.
Because he had based all of his exercises on how to mimic the Greek statue.
The Greek statue ideal. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So, Strength and How to Obtain It. It's a slim little book. And most of that is pictures, actually. And so it's a very quick read. But it's a very quick read that'll give you another facet of Victorian culture that you may have missed.
It'll show you how this sort of example of male strength was taken out of the circus sideshow and brought into the respectable world of classical education and the sort of middle-class ambitions of beauty that various men had. So I think this is a really good book, just to understand a lot of that late 19th century culture and to understand where a lot of 20th century culture came from.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so thank you for watching today. We hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up, and remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading!